So now may I request Professor K.L. Bhatia, who's an eminent jurist, mentor to half the judiciary in J&K and even abroad, and lots of guys in Supreme Court. So, and vast experience about the Constitution. So, and he's also a son of the soil. So I hope you will have further delineation of various other issues which were probably rocking your minds earlier. So may I now request Professor Bhatia to please express his views in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brigadier Dhiman. I have enjoyed the informative and intelligent presentation by Mr. Satish Lalhotra and Professor Harbans Singh Samyal. I have enjoyed their presentation. And there are different items from Chennai, from Sudhma Dev, from Bantalai, and from Kishtwar, Bhadrawa, Dogra. These areas I have traveled, and I know what are the items are produced from those particular areas like saffron, etc. They can be taken into consideration. Now, coming to the discussion on Dogra identity, consternation in modern times. Whosoever has presented this word concentration, I must admire, because this particular word is having the genesis of literature, and it is not a simple word. My question is there a really concentration when we discuss about Dogra identity? It's a very important point. Identity and concentration, in my perception, there may be agreement or disagreement that is bound to take place, are separate from each other. How? Let us have the clear perception of the word constellation. My perceptions are on the genesis of M.C. Mahajan, who was the last Prime Minister of Maharaja Hari Singh and was also the Chief Justice of India. His book, Looking Back, is very important. Then Sardar Patel's correspondence in 10 volumes, but I rely only on volume 1, which is edited by Durga Das, which talks about new light on Kashmir. Kashmir is not preceded by the word Jammu. This hurts. Kashmir is not preceded by the word Jammu. It hurts. But there is a lot of educative knowledge in that book. Then there is another book by Walter R. Lawrence, Cullen's Raj Tarangani, and Professor Sukhdev Singh, who was an eminent professor of history in the Department of History of University of Jammu, where I was. I had a lot of interaction with him, particularly his volume 5, Jammu Kingdom, Part 2. This is very important to understand. Then late Chief Justice of India, Justice Gajendra Gadkar's book on this, when this matter was discussed very heatedly about Jammu Kashmir, his book is also there. This word has its origin from this French word. I had been to France on 2-3 occasions on a fellowship of a UN Human Rights Fellowship. And then it is also a word from Latin term. French concentration, they pronounce it concentration. It's a French pronunciation. Emerged from of the concentration created by the rulers, monarchs and monarchy of France. and how the people have to fight against that. And ultimately, they incorporated in the French Constitution, that is, in pursuit of happiness, which was missing there. That is very important point to comprehend. Secondly, Latin. I look to the literature of this particular Shakespeare. Concentration created by Cassius. Jeern, that thin and lean fellow who gives a hungry look. This is the characteristic of Cassius. He borrowed the services of Brutus because he was not jealous like Cassius, but he was envious to become Julius Caesar. But he stabbed the Julius Caesar 30 times. And Caesar said, "You, Brutus, you had to brute. That wild person like a wild animal." He treated Julius Caesar like that. And therefore, another important aspect of concentration was to awaken the Roman people. And that speech is very important. Roman men and gentlemen, lend me your ears. I have come to bury Caesar and not to praise him. This is very important. I am quoting from the literature to explain the word concentration, how it has come and how it has. Now, I mentioned about French Constitution in pursuit of human happiness. This was taken by the framers of American Constitution, and they also incorporated in their preamble in 1776, and which was followed by 10 amendments in 1777 and 1779, and there they removed the concentration so that this is there. Another important aspect of literature which explains about the concentration, that is decline and fall of Roman Empire by Gibbon. An important aspect of literature. 3 W's were concentration in the decline and fall of Roman Empire. And then decline and fall of Third Reich of that Hitler. Nobody liked to take the name of Hitler in Germany. I have traveled that area and visited that area on a number of occasions. There is no book available in any library about that man. And that was the concentration, fear psychosis of the people. And therefore, that is the point which I wanted to highlight, and which talks about, I take their translation in Hindi, Vyakulta, ya atank, ya chinta. When we talk about Dogra identity, is there really Vyakulta? Is there really atank? Is there really chinta? Colonel Lalotra, Professor Harbans Singh Samyal, they explained very beautifully, and I admire them. This is the number of alternatives are there, which Samyal Sahab have already mentioned. I would not like to repeat them. Therefore, in Germany, to come out of the concentration of that Third Reich, and now the proverb there is, Ich bin German of German origin. That I am German of Germanic origin. This is very important. And in India, it can be said, I am Indische of Indish origin. That's so I am Indian of Indian origin, and therefore nothing to compromise on that. So flourishes Indian democracy under the Indian Constitution versus concentration of British rule. Thus, Ich bin Indian of Indish origin. Now coming to Dogra identity. Emergence of Dogras, Dogra rule from Maharaja Gulab Singh to Maharaja Hari Singh. And thereafter, under the Indian Constitution, democracy has been beautiful but not deceitful. Beautiful, I emphasize on my word, has been beautiful but not deceitful. This is Dogra identity. Dogras are beautiful but not deceitful. I take the clue from Brigadier Dhiman when he referred to that particular tall and thin and lean fellow. He was just like Cassius, Sheikh Abdullah. I'm not afraid to name him. And there is a mention about Sardar Patel in number of his letters which he addressed to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Maharaja Hari Singh, and others. And he mentions there, I am keeping the book with me, that whenever we talk to you about India, Indian Constitution, etc., you always say that you have the concentration. Sheikh Abdullah never knew the meaning of concentration. You always say that you are answerable to your people. Which people he was mentioning? He never bothered about Jammu Dogra, Jammuites, irrespective of caste, creed, sex, religion. This is very important aspect to remember. Dogra history. Somebody is disturbing, please. Dogra history, Dogra culture, Dogra dynasty, Dogra legacy, Dogra posterity is without the conundrum. I emphasize on the word conundrum, without the conundrum and concentration. Dogra is the name around Jammu and is said to be derived from a word meaning the two lakes as the original home of the Dogra people, irrespective of caste, religion, creed, sex, was cradled between the lakes of Suinsar and Mansar. All people are known as Dogras. At the time of First Sikh War, the Dogras had a great reputation as soldiers. This has been worthily maintained by the gallant conduct of the Dogra troops. Maharaja Gulab Singh was the first of the Dogra rulers. Maharaja Gulab Singh's dynasty, Maharaja Ranbir Singh, Maharaja Pratap Singh, Maharaja Hari Singh, and that was of great vigor, foresight, and determination. This was our identity, and this continues to be our identity, though hidden in the pages of history. Dogra rule spread beyond Jammu, and we know it all as students of history, and annexed Kashmir with Jammu and came to be known as Jammu Kashmir and not Kashmir Jammu. I am votary of Jammu Kashmir naming it. I am not votary of naming Jammu and Kashmir. Whenever we name this, inject the word and, it disturbs my mind and my soul and my heart. That is, we are separating from that particular place which was created by our own Dogra rulers, starting from Maharaja Gulab Singh, continuing up to Maharaja. Therefore, Dogra identity is Jammu Kashmir in a broader spectrum. I use the word in a broader spectrum and not micro spectrum. Dogra identity is of national spectrum and not of regional spectrum. Therefore, Dogra identity is rich in legacy and rich in culture that binds the posterity for ages to come. I emphasize that binds the posterity, future generations for ages to come. Dogra identity is inherent in the words of Maharaja Hari Singh. While taking the oath as a Maharaja, he said, he has no religion. His only religion was justice. I repeat, his only religion was justice. These are the words of Maharaja Hari Singh. This is the area of crisis. And therefore, here comes the word of consideration. And therefore, it needs to be studied in depth for the generations to comprehend, for the generation, future generation to comprehend. What did Maharaja Hari Singh mean that justice was his religion? I have not come across any research study on this particular. When Professor S.S. Charak was there in the Department of History as Professor Emeritus, I discussed with him this particular point. Now is no more, and therefore this is my point of emphasis. Another area of Dogra identity is to comprehend the policy statement of Maharaja Hari Singh. Policy statement, which is very important, of 15th July 1946. There was no mention about the framing, this making of the partition of one country in India and Pakistan. There was no mention about the framing of the Indian Constitution. It was much before. And this particular statement of Maharaja Hari Singh, I would like to mention because this is very important. And I have not come across any this particular research study in depth on this particular policy statement of Maharaja Hari Singh, and that is the identity crisis of the Dogra. He mentioned, I quote with the permission, naturally, we are interested in the progress of India as a whole. My views on the subject are well known, and on more than one occasion, I have given expression to them. They are briefly that we look forward to taking our due place in the new constitutional structure of India, whereby we hope that India will be able to take its proper place as a great nation. This policy statement is very important, pronounced by Maharaja Hari Singh when he was facing the crisis within the valley by those who were the propagator, Brigadier Dhiman and others, that I am concerned, answerable to my people. Which people? I already mentioned in the beginning of my presentation. So therefore, this particular area is an area of identity crisis, and this must be studied in depth and presented before the young generation. They must be aware of this particular thing, that what was the foresightedness of Maharaja Hari Singh. Another area of identity crisis is to unfold the rich socio-cultural legal contributions of Maharaja Ranbir Singh in socio-cultural justice delivery system. I have not come across any research study conducted by any research scholar.
Sir, may I request you to conclude, please?
I will conclude. Let me come to the conclusion. So therefore, this is the area of crisis of identity. Last point I would like to mention with your kind permission. That is the area of Dogra identity crisis. In the area of folk lyrics, जिसे अस डोगरी च आखने भाखा. I remember one of my neighborhood in the Jammu University campus where I was living before superannuation. That professor asked me, Professor, guide me, what should I do? Because that professor happened to be from the Department of Dogri. I told that professor, please do some research on Pakha. And nobody has done. Folk lyrics, folk lords, folk music, these are the crisis of a Dogra identity. And how far they are importantly contributing to the promotion of elementary education, high education, and higher education. I think the propagators of new national education policy 2020 must have looked into it, but unfortunately, nobody cared to devote any particular point on this particular issue. So therefore, these are some of my perceptions about Dogra identity and concentration. Nothing more, and I thank you all for giving me this particular opportunity to present my views and present my perceptions on this particular important area of discussion. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, sir. You